A very good evening to you tuned in to SMART24 TV. This is Business Today, where we bring you the latest business news within the region. You're welcome and thank you for joining us for this particular bulletin. My name is Ronah Nahabwe with Winnie and Nakawuki on the sign language. Now in our first story tonight, Major General David Kusara Chomukama, the Permanent Secretary for Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, has vowed to take down companies that market counterfeit agriculture inputs. However, according to Honorable Winnie, the Minister of State Agriculture, he says that it goes beyond that. He asserts that 40% of the agriculture inputs offered in the sale of the container village are fake. Let's have the story.
I put anybody with fake agro inputs on notice because this touches me.
The agricultural stakeholders are looking at ways to improve and enforce agricultural import standards, but so far they haven't seen much progress. The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, General David Kusara Chomukama, claims that he went to the container village to buy agricultural imports but returned with counterfeit ones.
I went to the container village to buy seed. I'm a Major General, so at that time I had not yet retired from the army, and I was in my car. And you know, when you're a Major General, these fellows jump out and all this and the other. So I went to buy seed. When you reach container village, these people grab hold of you, private sector. They take your wife, then they get goods. So they took me and sold me grain seed, maize seed, worth 1 million shillings. I took it and I planted it. Up to now, I'm waiting for that maize.
It's from this basis that he threatened to shut down businesses that sell fake agricultural imports.
I put everybody on notice of fake agro inputs. Really, I am coming after you. I've come after you. We've had absolutely.
And the government of Uganda agrees that there is a challenge. And we took a deliberate measure and instituted a committee to inquire into that challenge.
According to Honorable Winnie, the Minister of State for Agriculture, they have identified the key criteria that must be met in order for an anti-counterfeiting solution to be effective.
The committee has completed this work. It's going to present to us, and then based on their findings, we are going to institute mitigation. But it's true, it's a big problem.
The other agricultural research pundits believe that government regulatory agencies should be equipped to set high-quality standards for the manufacture and distribution of agricultural imports and conduct random product testing, investigate sources of counterfeiting on an ongoing basis, and enforce regulations effectively. Pedson Mumbere, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
Away from that, Uganda's 11th parliament in the country is the youngest ever. The organization has been in operation for 1.5 years now. In addition to Computer Misuse Act 2022, which is already the law, 23 laws have been passed before this year's conclusion. For the year 2022, our reporter has details this report.
The 11th Parliament got off to a tragic start when its Speaker Jacob Oulanyah passed away. Despite this, the Parliament continued to function admirably, passing 23 bills in a single year. Legislators claim that while it is the government that is hindering their work, Parliament has done its share in terms of legislation and appropriation.
So for me, the 11th Parliament has been a people parliament, and we are looking at how best can we ensure that we boost the livelihood of Ugandans. However, I was disappointed with the government programs. The parish development model, the game changer, the magic blade, the transformational program. It has failed to kickstart. Yes, it was passed. And remember, as the opposition, we gave an alternative. We did say that this is not the best the country can give amidst the challenges of COVID. So I'm so disappointed that COVID-19 as a program that replaced WEP, youth livelihood, has failed to kickstart. Local governments were given money and they were stopped to use it.
Because it's the duty of every member of parliament to ensure that at least they try to see that there are certain projects which are taken to your constituency to empower the community. But you may have a very good project, but when it comes to the funding, especially from the central government, that's where the challenge comes in. So we've tried. I wouldn't say that we've done our best, but we've tried, given the prevailing circumstances.
Honorable Kefa Chwanuka, the head of Finance Committee, believes that the committee has successfully carried out a number of initiatives to ensure that the Ministry of Finance fulfills its mandate with regard to oversight responsibilities for financial planning and economic development.
We've carried out a wide range of activities, and as we're speaking now, we are concluding reports on tax expenditure. We are concluding reports on the budgeting process and whether the ministry is fulfilling the aspirations of members when they do the appropriation, when they pass the Appropriation Act.
Kefa also stresses out that with over 12 bills passed in the finance sector, he is satisfied that his committee has done a tremendous job this year.
Over the year, we've achieved an unprecedented 11 bills, actually 12 bills in total, which we've passed, including the tax bills, and then the anti-money laundering bills, which we passed, and of course even other bills like the public finance management bill.
Moving on to the agriculture sector, which is the foundation of the nation's economy, Janet Grace Akech Akorimoy, the chairperson of the Agriculture Committee, told us that the committee has accomplished a lot and that it is because of them that the trial vaccines for the anti-ticks started, though they have not yet received the one for foot and mouth disease.
We are very proud that with the support that we gave the livestock sector, especially Naro, for the first time, they have been able to produce trial vaccines, anti-tick vaccines, and that was launched about a month ago. Naro is also in the process of producing trial vaccines for foot and mouth disease. They are also in the process of producing anti-aflatoxins. All that was with the blessings of the committee and also support from Parliament.
According to Janet, the 11th Parliament has been very supportive to the committee. However, as a country, there is need to increase agricultural mechanization to help farmers increase their productivity.
It was with the blessings of the committee and also support from Parliament. Otherwise, what we advocate as a committee is agricultural mechanization to increase production, large-scale production, as captured in the agro-industrialization objectives, Objective 1, of increasing production and productivity of agricultural products. So we are blessed that today we had a major function where His Excellency the President commissioned the distribution of tractors and other equipments that are meant to support large-scale.
The work of both speakers of the 11th Parliament has received praise from Ibrahim Semjunganda, particularly with regard to time management. He does, however, raise concerns about the haste in which several bills were approved without full input of stakeholders, and he claims that this is the reason the President has not signed many of the bills enacted.
Issues of governance, I think this Parliament is hesitant. When you speak about Museveni and his government and overstaying power and messing up with the country, the moment you speak about Museveni's son, they can even grab you from your seat. So on matters of governance, constitutional, this Parliament is hesitant. But on bills, in one day we passed 7 bills. I had a minority report to complain about the procedure that had been adopted, but they passed them. when it comes to budget, whether you processed it properly, it will be passed. And there is also a general improvement of timekeeping. Under Kadaga, this parliament used to start at 5, at 4. And they tell you that the speaker is still meeting Samba Soga in our office. And that's why for me, I think young people need to be entrusted. The two speakers are young people. You will see them coming to parliament on dot. Sometimes even the MPs are not there. Maybe they learned from Oranya, because Oranya was such a good timekeeper. So therefore, in terms of keeping time, in terms of transacting parliamentary work, in terms of a relationship with the MPs, I am satisfied. In terms of the quality of the work that we do, there are still questions. That's why most of the bills are being returned by M7.
Members of the 11th Parliament from both the opposition and the ruling party do agree that actually the 11th Parliament has performed very well in just 1 year and a half. With over 23 bills passed, the President has not assented to more than 5 bills. The question is, why is it taking so long for the President to assent to these bills? Samla Hanifa, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
Thank you, Samla Hanifa, for that report. Now let's look at Umeme's concession. It is clearly undeniable, despite the government's statements to the contrary and extensive lobbying in the background, that Umeme, Uganda's largest electricity distributor, won't have its 25 years concession renewed after 2025. Up to this point, there was hope that the government would change its mind, but the press release addressed the issue adversely. Let's have a look.
Is now informing public, because Umeme is required to inform public and shareholders. So we are just doing the normal legal and regulatory procedure. And we are working up to 2025 in March, when the concession is coming to its natural retirement. So we have to make sure that we follow the necessary procedures.
Energy Minister also assures the staff that their jobs are secure.
Allay the fears of the staff who are grappling with the anxiety that we are not going to reduce the distribution network that Umeme has been operating. And what that means is that we require staff. Umeme has been employing more than 3,000 staff to manage the network of thousands of kilometers. Okay? So, whether the concession ends or not, we need people to do the work that Umeme has been doing. So the staff has to be rest assured that we will need their services.
According to Umeme's financial report for the 2021 fiscal year, in the case of unnatural termination of the concession and subject to and concurrent with the retransfer of the distribution system to UDCL or its designee, the government will pay the company instantly available money for the buyout amount, which is equal to 105% of the cost modifications that have not yet depreciated and have not been covered by the tariff as of the date of the retransfer. Ronah, Nahabwe, SMART24 TV, Business Today. Moving on, Uganda is experiencing a new technological tidal wave of new business models and novel legal questions, by far of the most significant headline grabbing development in 2017. 2018 relates to the stunning rise of the blockchain technology. The technologies will dynamically transform the economy, as cryptocurrency is the most popular example that is tied to the blockchain technology. Uganda continues to see a lot of growth in the cryptocurrency and blockchain industry. Let's have the report.
The chairman of the Block Association emphasized on Uganda adopting cutting-edge technology such as the use of cryptocurrency, and that the blockchain policies will assist them in managing transactions. In terms of managing and exchanging digital currencies, the Blockchain Association of Uganda encourages effectiveness and promotes high ethical standards of business among its members.
It was clear that leading nations around the world were projecting economically over the next several years. They were seeing that there's going to be not just economic FAD, there's going to be geopolitical changes. The landscape globally in the field of finance is going to evolve. And so we must begin to prepare our young people. So for me, this became clear that what we were looking at in Uganda, what we had stumbled upon, has long-term global implications. And so I contacted my colleagues in Uganda, and we decided to actually deepen our knowledge in this area.
The law shapes, guides, and governs money adoption in Uganda, particularly in the blockchain area, because some of these activities are regulated by safe security, allowing people to conduct safe transactions and adopt the new emerging monetary technologies.
To bridge the information gap about blockchain technologies and also the intersection of blockchain technology and the law as we try to shape the future generations of this country, especially when it comes to setting the pace for innovation in the blockchain space, and also making sure that we have a team of emerging lawyers with specific and special understanding of the blockchain environment to nurture a conducive legal framework that will be able to sustain growth, development and innovation in this space. Cryptocurrency adoption in the country is still at a relatively low level, but it is definitely growing very greatly. Over the last few years, the numbers have exponentially grown, and right now we are going to experience a massive adoption. The more we do outreaches like this, the more we make sure we bridge the information gap in the blockchain space, because information has been very critical when it comes to adoption of blockchain and all other use cases. So we are trying to bridge that information gap by making sure that a great number of people get the interaction with accurate and authentic information about blockchain and cryptocurrencies.
Technology is developing quickly, and it is expected that everyone will accept and maintain the rapidly expanding broad technologies. The blockchain technology is a digital economic ledger that cannot be tampered with and can be configured to record nearly any exchange of value addition to financial transactions.
And so cash becomes there. Then, of course, remember, trade is now happening even faster. We're now moved into the second, actually now we're getting into the third industrial revolution, which is characterized by the internet. And so now trade is not happening just by distance. Trade is happening in this thing called online. People are clicking here, money needs to move. I want my jewelry, I want my radio, my Bluetooth speaker, I want this, I want that, online ordering Jumia. At the end of the day, money needs to move much faster than cash needs to move. And so we came up with e-money, or plastic money, the one that you stick into an ATM and you can withdraw cash, or you can go and pay directly. And so that you notice that money evolves as the use cases and the demand for it changed.
There is no doubt that blockchain-based solutions can outpace existing or non-existent technology infrastructures in Uganda. Blockchain applications are being implemented in Uganda through enabling micropayment systems, managing digital identities, and implementing smart contracts. The catalysts for a new era of inclusive growth were "No one is left behind" and such groundbreaking developments. Martha Nimsima, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
Let's now look at the performance of coffee production. Whereas the economy as a whole has expanded and improved in recent years, coffee remains the vital importance. It is estimated that as much as 20% of the entire population earn from large part of their cash and income from coffee. The increased global demand for coffee is good news for Uganda. It is predicted that the global demand increases by 0.23% per year. That's against the annual growth of 20% per year. Let's have a look.
The output of coffee has increased extremely slowly over the past 15 years to remain at around 3 to 4 million bags, despite the fact that it sustains the income of subsistence farmers and has historically generated between 20 and 30% of Uganda's foreign cash. Uganda sold 276,842,000 tons of coffee in 2019. The demand for Uganda coffee has increased throughout the entire year of 2019, increasing by 9.783% over the previous year. Coffee exports fell by 3.54% between 2017 and 2019, bringing in $437.66 million for the exporter in 2019.
We are already on target for the coffee export. The coffee roadmap foresees export of production of 8 million bags, and as the financial year closed, 2021-2022, our exports were 6.3. Our production had hit above the target of 80.4 million bags. So we are on track, but of course what requires extra efforts to meet the coffee roadmap. One is that there must be dedicated expansion of land. So farmers need to have seedlings for planting so that they meet we continue to expand the production.
The coffee business was fully liberalized in 1991 and 1992 and is now wholly in private hands after decades of total governmental control of the sector. The Uganda Coffee Development Authority, which grades, liquors and classes all export shipments, is still in charge of export quality control.
The last 6 years, we have moved the big segment of our coffee from the commercial coffees to specialty coffees. That is the way we should go progressively, because once we have specialty coffees, these are very high-end coffees of high quality, of high flavors and aroma, which are traceable. These coffees attract very premium prices, almost 3 times the commercial prices.
It is anticipated that an exceptional opportunity will arise for Uganda to fill the gap created by the increased demand for the high-quality fine robusta for which Uganda is famous. Good coffee from Uganda is distinct from other East African coffees and has a strong personality. Brenya Katsime, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
Business Today will now take a short break, but don't go away, we still have more.
SMART24, driving business.
The taste of Uganda in a new international park.
Mukwano?
Yes?
I need you to help me watch the kids. I'm going to pay school fees.
I've finished.
Excuse me.
Relax. Sit down, watch TV. I've already paid.
No stress, whether night or day to the okay.
Don't hustle to pay bills or send money. Chikole for less. Ne flexi pay. Hold it.
Chikole for less with FlexiPay. Dial *291# to transact or download the FlexiPay app to get started. Stanbic Bank. It can be. Stanbic Bank is regulated by the Bank of Uganda, and customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda, up to 10 million shillings.
SMART24, driving business.
Welcome back from that short commercial break, and thank you for sticking with us. This is Business Today, like I mentioned, where we bring you the latest business news within the country. Proposals on widening the tax base. Now, the Committee on the National Economy stated in December 2022 that the national debt increased to 79 trillion shillings, with only 25 shillings being collected by Uganda Revenue Authority from this financial year. There is a big gap to cover the public debt. And since the government intends to reduce on borrowing, expanding the tax base could only be the solution to maintain the economy's resilience. Let's have an overview on the private sector's proposals to widening the tax base.
Over the last 3 decades, Uganda has followed an approach to economic management and policy by the private sector. As a result, the private sector is the vanguard of the nation's growth and development. Public sector's responsibility in this situation is to provide an enabling environment, regulatory reforms, and a favorable infrastructure. Majority of this tax revenue comes from the private sector, yet business expansion is being constrained by high tax rates.
Here, as PSF, we proposed a number of proposals to government that would enable the widening of the tax base. This was on the realization that government expenditure needs were increasing, yet the payers, the people to pay taxes and the business to pay taxes, were not increasing at the same rate. So, for the tax needs and expenditure needs of government to be met,
PSFU addresses various cross-cutting issues that, if addressed, might broaden the tax base without having an adverse impact on expanding the private sector. Excise charge on innovations under market introduction should be exempted, since in financial year 2016-2017, a 30% excise duty on opaque beer caused the 14 billion product line Chibuku to collapse, resulting in a loss of 5 billion shillings in VAT revenue, the non-purchase of 3.6 million kg of maize, and the unemployment of 1,000 farmers. If the issue is not resolved, 10 billion in the revenue for more than 3,000 farmers and 12 billion in the excise duty would be lost.
For locally produced or alcohol produced from locally sourced raw materials, I think we are like a government listened and they actually approved these reductions, and the sectors are enjoying some of those benefits already. Now, the major reason why we proposed this, it was not that you go and drink more beer. No, the reason is that this beer, this alcohol is made from locally sourced raw materials. And these locally sourced raw materials are from our common, ordinary farmers. For instance, you're talking about maize, you're talking about sorghum, you're talking about cassava. These are local, these are sourced and transformed into alcohol.
In response to this, Uganda Revenue Authority clarifies that these laws are enacted by government and they are just implementing. So any other change or communication from the mentioned stakeholders will inform the decision.
These amendments are either providing relief or are providing an improvement in an established rate or tax policy. So the important aspect here to pick is that any tax you see us implementing, it's not that because the Uganda Revenue Authority has decided so, but it's because it is within our laws and we are putting it in implementation. Just a profit, you may not be paying, for example, corporation tax and things of the kind. But things that you may be paying is, for example, if you are employing people and of course they are earning beyond this threshold for pay as you earn, okay, then that is about two in a year. People who are earning, if you're earning over 2,350,000 in a year, if you're earning beyond that, then you start applying pay as you earn in different bands. There are bands for 10, for 20, 30%, and 40% for people earning 10 million shillings. So, but again now, that is a pay given by the employee. But the business itself will not be paying any income tax or corporation tax because they are not in a profit mode. So the point we need to pick there is, even we as tax administrators, we do not tax losses.
Another proposal is value addition on closing business informality. Support Bubu policy, National Development Development Plan 3, Objective 1, Value Addition and Industrialization Program to close the informality and increase tax revenues.
As an entire country, statistics say we have about 10 million people in this country that have an income and are obligated by law to be paying some form of tax.
The report also suggested a lower digital stamp review so that the private sector competes favorably with its East African partners. The Republic of Tanzania and Kenya presents a similar business environment for Uganda. A 70% reduction for the digital stamps on beer, liquor and soft beverages, with an intention of phasing out the digital stamp in the long run for products where no under declaration, counterfeiting or smuggling will be found.
There's the supermarket or the store, there is a product made in country, whatever, and there is a product made in Uganda. The one from Uganda has a higher price than the other one. Now, what would you expect them to choose? So this is the reason we really would like and we would propose that the stamps, the cost of stamps should be at the same rate or lower than the other countries that are charging.
But URA's response to the reduction of taxes or tampering with the taxes is not within their docket, but instead they are only considered when it comes to collection of the revenue.
There is no country in the world that is applying digital tracking stamps and they're free of charge. So that expectation that they'll be free, it is not anywhere in the world, okay? Now, two, in Uganda, in the East African community, the digital tracking stamps are actually provided by the same provider. The digital tracking stamps in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Uganda, I do not know about Rwanda, are provided by the same company. That's something also interesting you need to know. Now, the cost of the stamps also depend on the usage of volumes. That's why you see there are milestones that were created, that when we hit a certain volume of usage, the price of the stamp lowers.
Small farms frequently do not have access to significant cash or resources, therefore they must manage their cash flow carefully. Money is spent as it is received. Therefore, if a customer's payment is delayed, the entire cycle is put in a peril.
It is very clear that a number of would-be users of the IFRI system had not been properly prepared to start using this system. So in the end, this is how you ended up with the problems of like small businesses are no longer able to take goods to selling points like supermarkets because the users of these systems are not well empowered and educated on how to do it.
Buy and sell my commodities, and it is up to me to decide what I declare to the tax administrator. And you would have no way actually of knowing whether what they're saying is right or wrong until you make an audit. What IFRIS has done is providing real-time data and information as the transaction happens. When you buy, we will know. When you sell, we will know. When you procure and stock, we will know. So at the end of the day, there is no haggling on what is owed to the taxman and what is owed to you.
The 18% value added rate was thought to be excessive and to be reducing consumption. Kenya has a VAT rate of 14%, while Uganda has a VAT rate of 18%. This restricts the tax-based expansion and promotes tax fraud. PSFU suggested that different micro-businesses be offered various VAT bands or be taxed in stages based on what they do.
They should also be able to grow. Now, one of the things that we think could be helpful is if they have a different tier of VAT, different from the bigger corporates, the bigger companies. Now, if the rate is lower for them, it means that they'll have an opportunity to produce more and sell more and grow and generate more jobs for the country. That is what we hope can be considered for the country. To use the VAT as an affirmative action.
Again, in response, URA mentioned the specifications for who is supposed to pay what and how the VAT protects all parties.
If I am a final consumer, I am the payer of VAT. The 18%, if you are the final consumer, you pay it. If I am a business and I'm VAT registered, when I pay VAT, it will be refunded to me because I am buying produce that I'm probably using in my business to create a sale. That's why there is input VAT and output VAT. There are people who have rentals, and these rentals are registered under business name. They are a business. So if that business is earning 37.5 million shillings in 3 months, they become a VAT registered collector for VAT, right? So that means any VAT chargeable, it is their tenants who will be paying that VAT, not them as the business, because they are now VAT collectors given the act. If I am a landlord and I'm an individual, I have 2 units there. Me as the landlord, I'm the final consumer because one, I'm not VAT registered. You get me? Any VAT, it will be payable by myself. So the difference is 2. We have people who have reached the threshold of being VAT registered. If you're VAT registered, you are now a VAT collector. You don't pay VAT. Exactly. If I am an individual and I'm operating as an individual, I will be paying VAT as a final consumer. Those things, exactly. So those things are things we need to provide clarity, and that's why you see we have increased our ability for people to reach us, especially for advisory services. You realize that URA right now, we are on WhatsApp. Many Ugandans are using WhatsApp. We have a 40-man team of agents just waiting to engage with people from 8 to 11 p.m., 8 in the morning to 11 p.m.
How about the Ministry of Tax Exemptions? Are deviations from the establishment of the tax code intended to ease investment cash flows and build capacity for future taxability justifiable?
And they are always in the marketplaces guiding people, teaching them. We do about 38 radio talk shows a week around the country, basically on tax education. 1 hour basically discussing tax education issues. People call in and we give responses and things of the kind. We do what we call tax clinics and tax hubs, either at exhibitions, whether, if you look at like Casita, we have a year program. This year alone we have had 22 interactions with Casita. They call us at their meetings to make presentations. They congregate their members on a specific day, and we have a half day, a full day engagement on tax matters. This we do with many, and we have recruited a number of associations depending on the different sectors as an inroad. It helps us to understand what their peculiar challenge is, because the challenges of taxes in the fish industry are different to those who are in the tourism and the hotel business or who are in transport. These associations help us to be able to speak to their people.
Government recently announced that it intends to rationalize tax incentives. Do we know why?
We speak, yes. As we speak, there is a study being conducted by the ministry. Even I think the parliament is part of it because parliament requested for it. We are also now part of it. We are examining all the existing exemptions that have been given to see what is the opportunity cost. Yes, what has been the opportunity cost? If these exemptions were not given and these people were required to pay taxes, would the country be better off or not? But so far, some indicators show that many people who have gotten exemptions have actually gone on to employ people, and people who are making a big contribution to pay as you earn. You realize that right now, pay as you earn is our biggest performing tax head. You get me? There's documented evidence in that direction.
Some of the members of parliament sum up solutions on how the tax base can be widened.
If you have not strengthened the talent deployment, because talent is what brings production. So what is happening now today is that about 15% of the talent that we have in Uganda is the one that is rightly deployed in the right areas, and they're the ones busy producing. The rest of the talent is dependent upon this 15%. So what are we doing to identify this talent, develop it, sharpen it properly, and deploy it in the right area so that we can have 50% doing the work? production. And that way we shall be able to export. But URA is relying, you can't blame URA because URA comes at the end point. It begins from the point of what education are we teaching? What is the curricula? Is it the curricula that encourages production, talent maximization? Because if you just put somebody to pass English and pass history and pass whichever subject, if you are just encouraging people to go and do because others are doing those subjects, they will go and they will have no proper talent utilization in wherever they have deployed themselves. Haven't you seen people, doctors? You know that in Uganda we need doctors. We have a deficit of doctors. But why are some doctors, for example, today doing politics? If I may ask you, haven't we misplaced that talent? Why are some engineers? Because you misplace your talent, and once you misplace, you create a gap. You create a gap. So who's going to fulfill that gap? Because we are born for a specific purpose and mission to accomplish on this earth.
With the above proposals, the Private Sector Foundation of Uganda believes that it will contribute towards widening the tax base through creation of wealth, closure of leakages, and increased employment through leading a more tax revenue and a high level of tax to the GDP. Ronah, Nahabwe, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
That now leads us to the end of Business Today. As always, thank you for the pleasure of your time. My name is Ronah Nahabwe with Winnie. We use a Nakawuki and the sign language. And did I remind you that if you missed this, there's a link on YouTube where you could stream and catch up to the rest of the updates. Good evening.